Welcome to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome inside the Lock Shop. Maddie, you got a pen? I always like to have a pen kicking around. Careful, that sun. It's right into the bloody light. I can't see anything when it's thrown to me there. Who am I? Sky Moore? What's up? Hus, how you doing, buddy?
You had to go there, did you?
Oh, I can't
right
hear
off
Hus.
the bat.
There he is. What's up, dude?
Right off the bat, a Sky Moore blast coming into the Lock Shop today. It didn't take long.
I thought I timed that well, right?
You know, it was an extra bummer because my spidey senses were tingling about that game. I said it, and we ended up putting it on the partner parlay, and it ended up killing us.
That's on me, man. I know I was listening on the way down. I had him on the card. I was listening. I know you guys came back around to it and said you could blame me if it didn't hit, and I guess I'll take that heat. But, I mean, the cover is one thing, but to lose the way that they did by 16, man, I did not see that coming.
Listen, it was just a really off game. And listen, I was freaked out to begin with. I don't know if you caught this, but the Chiefs tweeted out around noon, like when the early games were starting. Injury update: Mahomes illness unconfirmed for the game. So
I didn't see that. Yeah,
he obviously wasn't in a great place, but. Oh, my God. I mean, Mecole Hardman sure made his impact felt coming back into the lineup. Good Lord, what a terrible game for him. And, yeah, I mean, the receivers either couldn't catch or were putting it on the ground. The offensive line wasn't particularly good. And listen, I know the Chiefs covered the number in the game against the Broncos on the Thursday nighter a couple weeks ago, but it wasn't a very impressive win. They got stalled in the red zone 4 times. That ended up being the Harrison Butker game where he had that massive kick just to cover the number. So, I mean, a little bit of a reality check, I think, for the Chiefs. Not the end of the world. Still 6-2. And now let's get on a plane to Frankfurt and get ready for probably the best international game we've seen yet, between the Dolphins and the Chiefs early on Sunday morning. Some good games next week. You got Eagles, Cowboys, and then the Sunday nighters, the Bills and Bengals. But hey, just speaking of the NFL, I mean, let's talk to it. And we were both on it, but definitely the win of the week, the Cincinnati Bengals. And I got to tell you, this is giving me feelings of them last year. Remember they started 0-2 and everyone was thinking, oh man, the Bengals, it was sort of a flash in the pan. Joe Burrow was back to being Joey Burr last night. He was amazing. And the Bengals are trending in a great direction. I still think the Niners are the best team in the NFC, and yet they're on a 3-game losing streak right now, and the Seahawks are first place in the NFC West. So it was a weird weekend overall, Dusty.
Well, you mentioned the Niners. Let's just stay there for a second because you did say you still think they're the best team in the NFC. But they've lost 3 in a row. Like, they haven't won a football game in over 3 weeks right now, which I don't think I ever would have saw coming along the way for this team with the way that they looked in the first 5 weeks. So, I mean, is it the classic they're somewhere in between the team that started 5-0 and the team that's gone 0-3 in the last 3 weeks? Or is it leaning pretty heavily towards that team that still started the year 5-0?
Well, I mean, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because I do think that they got the talent. I think they've got elite coaching. I mean, so much of it depends on the quarterback play. And I mean, Brock Purdy was the toast of the NFL through 5 weeks. And listen, he's gone up against some tough defenses, and of course got nicked up in the game last week. And no one even thought that he might not start this week due to being in concussion protocol. So I think the Niners will get it figured out, but anyone that thought that they were just going to cruise to 15-2 and that no. And listen, the Eagles right now, shout out to them. They managed to cover the spread yesterday, and they always get their hands full with the Washington Commanders. I still think there's a whole nother level for the Eagles to play at. But unlike the Niners, they have a bit of a cushion right now. Cowboys look great last week.
It's funny you brought that up because I was just going to say Now we'll get to the Lions as we work our way through the preview here later on in the episode. But I was going to bring up, I was like, Cowboys are at 5-2, and I didn't expect them to make quick work of the Rams like they did.
No, trust me, neither did I. I had the Rams plus 6.5. I thought this would be kind of I really did think that this game, with it being earlier, although you would think that would be not good for the West Coast team, I didn't think it was maybe going to be very good for the Cowboys, who, rarely ever play a noon game at home. But I'll tell you what, it was just, this is what you get with Dak Prescott. We see some ugly, ugly games from Dak, and every now and then he'll go and look like he's a top 5 quarterback in the league, and he did that yesterday. So Dallas had a really impressive performance. Still no monster games from Tony Pollard, though, for fantasy owners out there, which is really strange. I thought this guy might very well win the entire rushing title this year. But yeah, the Cowboys did what they had to do. It was a very emphatic win. They've got some momentum going into that huge divisional matchup with the Eagles next week. And listen, the biggest loss has to be Minnesota Vikings. Like, I feel so sick for Kirk Cousins, because I think anyone that watched the quarterback series, he was people really, really love that guy.
He's the
His
guy you want to
teammates
cheer
love
for,
that
right?
guy.
Like, yeah.
And listen, he was playing his ass off this year. And to think that they had just beaten the Niners, big win in Green Bay, they get it to 4-4. If Kirk Cousins stays on this team playing the way he is right now, that team is not just a playoff team, but I think a team that could really make some noise. Now they've got no Justin Jefferson, no Kirk Cousins. They have fought their way back to 4-4, but I really don't know what things look like. I mean, they've got the rookie quarterback, or Nick Mullins. That's not going to inspire a lot of confidence. Listen, I think Detroit, and we'll get to this, I think Detroit is still clearly the best team in that division, and I think they'll show it tonight. But the fact that they had got to 4-4 with those 2 head-to-head games, I mean, the NFC North was still, there was a lot of work left to be done for Detroit. And I think in a lot of ways, I mean, barring some sort of unexpected miracle at the quarterback position, or maybe some sort of a trade that comes out of the blue, pretty hard to imagine the Vikings continuing what they've got going on right now without Cousins ripping it the way he has been lately.
If you are listening right now on TuneIn or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, feel free to text us 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999. The Lock Shop is live, as is the oil stream. That'll be coming up here at noon today as well. If you are watching in the nasty chat over on YouTube, feel free to chime in. What did you hit on over the weekend? What did you not hit on over the weekend? We can certainly get into that as well. Just to follow it up on the Kirk Cousins thing, I texted you this extremely sad story last night from a fantasy perspective, Hus, but I'm going to bring it back up again. So I'm in a super flex league, got a monster team, start the season with Jalen Hurts and Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, lose Aaron Rodgers, it's a super flex, had no other third-string quarterback, so I've played the last 7 weeks with just Jalen Hurts and then other position players in my super flex. Start the year 7-0. Right, so I've got a good team. In a super flex league with just one quarterback, I'm 7-0. So I was like, you know what? It's time. I've been trying to trade for a quarterback the last few weeks. Was trying to get Jared Goff. Was trying to get this guy. Trying to get that guy. Finally, on Saturday afternoon, somebody fires me. It's almost like they knew the injury was coming. Fires me an offer on Saturday afternoon. Kirk Cousins for a first and a second in 2025. So we're talking 2 drafts from now. I'm sitting here looking at this roster that hasn't lost without 2 quarterbacks yet. I'm like, yeah, done. Pull the trigger on it. Kirk's having a great season, and I like the guy. So I pulled the trigger on it. I had a little bit of a busy day yesterday, so I'm hopping on Twitter, scrolling through, and all I saw was a close-up video of the purple leg, and you could see the Achilles pop a little bit, and I was just like, oh, no, I think that's Kirk. I scroll up, sure as you know what, Kirk Cousins. I was just like, I have all the things. So now I've got both Achilles boys on my IR, and I'm back to a 1 quarterback in a super flex league. I was just like the worst timing ever. It was just brutal.
Go pick up Will Levis.
That league has everybody already claimed. 16 teams. It's deep dynasty. There's nobody available. Like, I'll have to trade for another quarterback again. So unless Rodgers can get, like, I see Rodgers throwing. How far away is Aaron Rodgers? Like 3 weeks?
I don't know.
4 weeks?
I'm sure that ayahuasca is, just creating a new Achilles for him right now. Mark,
uh,
hey, give Wentz a chance. Can you imagine? I mean,
oh
hey, he was a bit of a legend down there in North Dakota. That's not too far away.
man, he might be
I don't
worth
know. I don't know what they're gonna do.
with
I
the
do
injuries
not know
that.
what.
Well, it's not just Kirk Cousins. I mean, there was a bunch of quarterbacks that didn't finish games yesterday, right? So we'll see.
Big time.
We'll see how it plays out. Any thoughts on the Chargers crushing the Bears in the Sunday nighter? I can't believe they did. As I watched it, and I got home from the hockey game and caught part of the fourth quarter. The Lakers game was on too, so I was kind of flipping back and forth. But every time I flipped back to the Chargers and Bears, all I could think to myself was, why did they not flex the Bears out of this game? It just doesn't make any sense to me. You should have moved this game somewhere else.
This was
Yeah.
the first game that they were able to flex, and for reasons unbeknownst to the lock shop, they decided not to do that. Hey, listen, Herbert was eating last night. Everyone was getting a little bit of theirs. The Bears are the Bears right now. The worst thing that happened to the Bears on Sunday had nothing to do with their game. It was Carolina winning their first game of the year.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit more, a few more teams in contention for that number one pick. But listen, the Bears with a backup quarterback, they're not going to beat anybody. Probably, certainly not very many teams. And as much as the Chargers find new and incredible ways of losing games, it wasn't happening last night. They ran away with that one. And, for everyone that had a busy weekend, it was maybe fortunate you didn't have to maybe stay right up until the end. Hey, you mentioned what you were up to. Tell us about the Heritage Classic. How was the outdoor game?
It was good, man. I thought they did a really good job with it. The only complaint I have was I would have liked to have seen more Nickelback. We only got 3 Nickelback songs in-house. I think they put 2 of them on TV, and then when they went to commercial, they did Rockstar, and that was it. So I wanted like a 5 or 6 song medley, like kind of get moving. But they did 3 songs. Nickelback is awesome. Alberta obviously loves Nickelback. It was a good time there. I thought the game itself was pretty good. It was the Oilers' best game of the season, not even close. Now, Darren Dreger, we had Dreger on and Rashog on our show this morning on the Nielsen show over at here at Edmonton Sports Talk, and they both quickly made the point that Calgary is awful. Like the Calgary Flames, when you see the way that the Oilers and Flames started, I think you looked at it and went, yeah, the Oilers, they figure it out. Like they've got McDavid and Draisaitl. They're going to be a playoff team, yada, yada, yada. The Calgary Flames are not good. Like they couldn't generate anything 5-on-5. Teams have been toying with the Oilers as far as 5-on-5 high danger scoring opportunities so far this year. Flames couldn't get a sniff. The only thing they generated was from some power plays. Their power play ends up going 2 for 6. I don't think they scored an even strength goal, buddy, in their last 3 games. Like Calgary has some major issues to sort out, which is troubling to me because that team on paper is a hell of a lot better than the one you see on the ice.
My reaction from watching that and seeing what's happened to Calgary, it just gets me frustrated from the opening game of the season of which I was in Calgary. Like, how the hell did we lose to those guys? Speaking from a Jets perspective, and the Jets were clearly the better team in that game. And listen, Markstrom made some big saves. Hellebuck wasn't the Hellebuck we're seeing right now, and that one sort of got away with them. I mean, hey, listen, long season, lots of time left. But you're right. For a team that was expecting, I think, to see some results early on after what happened last year, they simply haven't. The results they've been seeing have been more of the same. And I know it's, you get Sutter out of there and you get a nicer coach that everyone seems to like, and you get the vibe, oh, we're in a better headspace and we're having fun. That changes quickly when you lose over and over again. And you're in professional sports. We talk about vibes and about having fun. Well, what's fun is winning hockey games. And when you don't, you start getting the questions. You start squeezing the stick quite a bit. And I got to tell you, Craig Conroy's got a lot of work to do right now. And we're going to talk about this with Dave Poulin coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk a little bit later on today when he joins us. I mean, if you're Calgary, you've got major, major decisions to make. I mean, we compared Winnipeg and Calgary so much coming into the season, with the pending UFAs and how they handle those things. Well, the Jets handled things before they even started on Thanksgiving, signing Hellebuck and signing Scheifele. They know exactly what their plan is, their cost is, what they've got going forward. And we talked about how that is such a positive thing for Winnipeg to not have to be dealing with. Listen, I'm not saying that Lindholm and Hannafin's contract situations is the reason why this team isn't winning games. But while you're losing with those situations unresolved, it does create an atmosphere where there's a lot more questions than answers right now. And I got to tell you, the Flames are looking like they could be in for another long season. And if that happens, you just wonder how different this organization is going to look next year outside of the dudes that they signed last year in Kadri, in Huberdeau, and Mackenzie Weegar.
Your thoughts on it, feel free to chime in, 780-218-9999, 780-218-9999, or hop in the Nasty Chat as well. Let's get to a couple of messages there. Richard Croft in the Nasty Chat says, the Gunslinger special by Patty was nice. Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrows, Kirk Cousins, all plus 250 yards passing, plus 925, paid well. Yeah, that was a nice hit. And then Mark says, my brother needed, and he said Rivers, but I'm pretty sure he means Herbert. My brother needed Herbert to get 300 yards to hit a massive same-game parlay. Because of that last Eckler fumble, he went from 304 to 298 and lost the bet.
That is
a major kick in the nuts.
Brutal. That play, and I saw someone quote it, goes, that is going to be a fantasy killer for a lot of players. Never mind the obvious prop bets on it. Again, you would just want a little reminder that you're betting on the Chargers. Well, you got that last night in the fourth quarter.
Even when they win, you still can't get it done. Like, yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow. Hey, quickly, one more in the NFL here. And what we're going to do today, Pat's going to join us. We're going to put together today's Sports Equinox, right? There's NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, and NBA. So we are going to build a 4-sport parlay for tonight, which should be a lot of fun. If you have any leans on any of the games out there, let us know, 780-218-9999, or in the Nasty Chat as well. Hus, I just want to throw this at you quickly before we move away from the NFL, and we'll circle back around to it, obviously, with the Monday Nighter. But are the Baltimore Ravens the best team in football? Like, 6-2 as well. Don't give up a ton defensively. Lamar's having a really nice year.
Hey, they made a statement last week when they beat the hell out of your Lions.
Yeah,
for sure. They did what they've lost to Pittsburgh this year, which
division, but like not great. But
again, the Steelers just somehow.
If you look at all the other teams, though, like the Chiefs have lost to the Broncos. Like lots of these other teams have lost to teams that we never would have expected them to lose to, right? So I'm just looking at their schedule.
Let's see this. So they beat the Cardinals, or let's start at the top. They beat the Texans. They beat the Bengals by 3 in Cincinnati. That was still struggling Joe Burrow. They lost at home to the Colts. They crushed Cleveland. That's a very impressive win considering Cleveland's defense. They lost to the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and then they beat the Titans. They crushed the Lions, and they beat the Cardinals. So, I mean, they've got a great win at home against the Lions. A pretty good win in Cincinnati against the Bengals. But again, that was sort of before Joe Burrow started getting better. Like, there's certainly a contender right there. I don't know. I still don't put the Ravens in that. Like, put it this way. The Bengals scare me more than the Ravens.
They do, hey? With the way they're going right now?
Yeah. Well, and just the fact that, I mean, we've seen Joe Burrow before. Like, we still haven't seen Lamar Jackson really kind of come and be his best in the playoffs. Although, watch this be played later on and me get haunted by
they play in week 11. So they'll go at it again in week 11, which could end up being a pretty good one, I think. I think that'll be all right.
That'll be great. No regular season game between the Chiefs and the Ravens this year, I guess, eh? This next little bit, they got the Seahawks at home to the Browns. 3 home games coming up in a row for the Ravens, actually. So if they can take care of business at home and then go to the Chargers and the Rams, I mean, this team could be 11-2 or 12-2, and I guess then you'd really be having those conversations. They finish up with the Niners, Dolphins, and Steelers. So those are some tough games. But it is impressive what they're doing right now. Gus Edwards is getting into the end zone. Lamar's playing well. Their defense is good. I mean, listen, they're definitely a contender. I'm not sure I'm willing to say that they're number one on the power poll. But if you want to look at what they've done recently, I mean, all of those other teams, I think I still give Philly the nod. But I mean, listen, considering how underwhelming the Chiefs have been lately, getting to 6-2, and I know they had that weird loss in Week 1, you could certainly make an argument for the Baltimore Ravens right now. I think that's for sure.
Let's get to this one from Chris. Maybe that's a question we'll throw to Patty, who will bring in here shortly. Chris on Twitter tweets at us and says, I lost a plus 700 4-prop bet builder because the Bears chose the 2-point convert and missed. That sucks as well. Like, it just, those little ones, they just get you, don't they? They just do. I'm gonna get Maddie to come in. We'll throw Patty in here. But Hus, Manitoba Bisons, Calgary Dinos, we got to quickly hit on how that game finished. That was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen on a football field.
Okay, so just for people that have not seen this, and we'll play this on Winnipeg Sports Talk today. So the Bisons, on account of their win by 13 over Calgary earlier this year, could afford to lose the game, but they couldn't lose by 13 or more. 20 seconds left in the game. It's 35-15 for Calgary. They're up by 20. They have the ball. The Bisons, from what I understand, had stalled out. They went for it on third down because they needed a touchdown. They didn't get it. So they ran a play. It's 2nd and 5. Calgary's on like their own 15 or 20-yard line, something like that. And they run the ball again. Well, the Bisons, knowing that their entire season's on the line, somehow strip the ball carrier, pick it up, run it into the end zone for a touchdown with no time remaining, and then execute the 2-point convert, lose by 12, make the playoffs. Like, I'll have to do a little bit more looking. I'm not sure if, people have asked, but like, what the hell were they doing running a play at that point? I mean, Miami did it in the NCAA earlier this year when they lost to Georgia Tech.
Yeah, that's right.
Is there any conceivable reason why they're not just taking a knee on that play? It was 2nd down.
I don't know what they were thinking, man. It didn't make a lot of sense, and then they fumbled. I felt bad for the kid who fumbled. Like, he shouldn't even have been running the ball there. It made no sense.
Don't blame the kid. Blame the coaching staff. And listen, these are professional jobs. Like, the head coach of a U Sports team collects a paycheck.
Yeah, that's not a volunteer position. Like,
their occupation is to go out, win games. And listen, for Calgary, a team that has sucked, I think, for a pretty long time, they're coming off back-to-back wins against ranked opponents just to be in this situation. And then to be up 20 and to lose in that fashion, it's probably the worst loss of a playoff spot. Again, they still won the football game. This is hard for people to wrap their heads around. Exactly. But I mean, it was kind of like, in soccer games where they play the home and home and the total points. That was essentially what
that's what
the
it was.
Situation was. And they were 12 seconds away from making the playoffs. They didn't need to do anything. They hand the ball off. They get it stripped. And the Bisons the Bisons have had some of the craziest freaking games and endings in sports over the course of the last number of years. I mean, there have been last second, but nothing like this because of everything else that went into it. So I guess we should be thanking the Calgary coaching staff here in Manitoba. But that is something I never in a million years would have thought. I always say this. If you have a kid, a 14-year-old kid that plays a lot of Madden, he probably has better concepts of clock management than a lot of coaches right now in the NFL, in the CFL, and obviously in U Sports as well. It is for all the planning and the detail that these guys go into with planning. How just simple math evades people is beyond me, but that's why the Dinos aren't going to the playoffs and the Bisons are.
Bisons will get Thunderbirds. Golden Bears will host the Huskies. That'll be the 3rd meeting of the season between those two clubs. All right, let's bring in Pat Gregoire from Coolbait. You can find him on Twitter at P. Greggy. P. Greggy, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
Happy Sports Equinox Day, gentlemen. What a time to be alive.
He's talking though. I can hear him. Like it looks like he's talking, but I can't hear him.
Oh yeah, I can hear him.
Oh, I can't hear him. I don't know. Go ahead, guys.
Well,
You chat.
I'll talk to you, Patty.
Yeah, talk to me,
Yeah.
Hus.
Now I'm
Talk to
good.
me, baby.
No, I'm
is-
good now. I couldn't hear him before. I don't know what was going on. Maybe I stroked out. I don't know. I just couldn't hear you. How you doing, man?
Sports Equinox indeed.
Yeah.
A full slate today.
Full slate, all 4 major North American sports in action. And to make it even more interesting, we've got a World Series game in that mix as well. It's the only time in 2023 that we will have all 4 at the same time. And it's only the 30th time in the history of the planet. So a very special day today.
That is a special
should we do our Monday Night Football picks first, and then we can sort of get into putting the rest of this together?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the best way to go, buddy. Yeah, let's get into it, man.
I think I know where you're going on this.
Lions
one, Dusty.
-7 next.
Listen, how is this number not more?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess Amon-Ra St. Brown. I noticed that his receiving props aren't up right now, and I guess he's still listed as questionable. Kind of would think that he's going to play. We're going to see a whole lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. If you want to jump on him, over 70.5 is, I think it's plus 139 right now. I think he's going to have a monster game, and this is a sort of a perfect breakout game for him. I'll tell you what, I like him to get into the end zone tonight. Minus 137 for an anytime touchdown, plus 450 for a first touchdown score. But I'm with you, man. I am on the spread. I mean, if you want to be a little more cautious, you can take 6.5 at minus 115. But to be honest, I like 7.5 at minus 101. I like 8.5 at plus 110. I don't mind 9.5 at plus 121. I like a double-digit win for the Lions tonight in this game. And I think a lot of people maybe are a little scared off by how badly they got beat up by the Ravens. But that was a game that got away on them early. I think they sort of knew what their fate was. It looks ugly on the scoreboard, but the Lions are a legit contender in the NFC, and the Raiders are the Raiders. So this is an easy pick for me. And whether it's 7 or 7.5, whatever the number you're getting at, I like the Lions.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. I got cute with yesterday's Sunday Night Football game. We were talking about it on the Lock Shop on Friday and saying, like, this line doesn't make sense. Like, but it was the flip side. It's like the Chargers, man, like they shouldn't be favored against anyone this big of a spread. Look, they haven't beat anyone, but that just goes to show you that there is a huge talent discrepancy despite the Chargers and what we think of them as a team. They're not nearly at the top of some of these contenders that we talk about, like the Chiefs, like the Ravens, whoever you want to put in that category. But they are a lot better than teams that they went up last night against in the Bears. And let's not forget, the Bears beat this Raiders team. I think the Lions are in that top echelon of teams. Yeah, they got smoked by the Ravens, got their teeth kicked in. I'll be honest, that kind of makes me like this bet even more. I think that they want to go out on the national stage, prove that they're still a championship team. And I think they really, really take it to the Raiders tonight. I totally agree. 7 is no problem for me. I would bet this up. I really like the Lions to have a big bounce back spot here.
Yeah, I'm going to probably lead on the Lions to try to get off to a nice start with the daily picks this week on CoolBet. You can check those on the CoolBet socials later on. Give them a follow on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all that at CoolBet Canada. So, guys, if we know what we're doing for the pick, and I guess we can put it to 6.5 if we want, just to be safe for a partner parlay if we're going to be dragging in 3 other games. World Series, and I'm just noticing a little bit of a line movement. I mean, not much. It was D-backs minus 104, Rangers minus 109 earlier. Now it's D-backs minus 102 to win, and the Rangers minus 111. We've got Fott versus Scherzer. I got to be honest. I'm feeling the D-backs in this one. I mean, they're still an underdog to win the World Series at plus 100. The Rangers are at minus 120. I think Texas is fortunate to be tied in this series, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, Garcia, what can you say about him? I mean, he was the hero in game number 1.
Yeah, but they needed some magic in game 1, right? To
They
come back
did.
and win that game. So
I don't know. Where are you guys at on this one? I'm feeling the D-backs and a little bit of momentum right now for them heading back home.
I'm leaning Diamondbacks, but I'll be honest, I don't really have a strong lean on that side. With that being said, you already mentioned his name, Garcia. I think win or lose, this is a guy that's going to come up big in the big moments. He is just cashing that over 1.5 bases mark at a 70% clip in the last 10 games. He's averaging right now over that span 3.8. So I like him to get over 1.5 total bases. I believe that's at minus 115. Again, I don't know if we want to just go with spreads or totals for our Equinox bet, but of the baseball game tonight, that is by far my strongest play.
I love that. I went with that. Was it early last week? I cashed that one of our lock shop plays at some point over the last 6 or 7 shows. Guy's red hot. I mean, it's just insane what he's doing to that total bases prop.
It's happened 7 of the last 10, so it was one of those games, and he's just mashing the ball.
I think the time that I got it was like 8 of the last 10. So it was like, crazy. And that was it's been going back even further than that. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Hus, what do you like more here, the Diamondbacks, or do you want to go with the player prop instead?
Well, if you guys both like the player prop, I'm fine with it. I mean, we certainly can do it. As I say, it's minus 115 on over 1.5. I mean, it has been as consistent a cash and wager as we've had in the baseball playoffs. I mean, and this guy just continues to write history game after game after game. And I guess it is one of those ones that it doesn't matter if a game gets out of hand early or away, one way or the other, we've still got a piece of it. So, yeah, if you want to throw in Adolis over 1.5 for our for the baseball side of this, we can do that.
I do. I think I like that. I think I like that one the best. So we would go Lions minus 6.5, Garcia over 1.5 total bases, and then we've got the NBA and we've got the NHL tonight. So let's slide over there.
You got it.
NHL tonight. What do we got? Oh, it's a big slate.
It's a huge slate.
That's a big Monday night.
I'll throw out mine. Again, I don't know if we want to go with sides, whatever it may be. I'm on another prop tonight. I tried to bring at least one bet for each league coming into this. So I like Eichel over 3.5 shots. He's averaging 4.6 shots per game. And he's hit this 3.5, 6 of 9 games so far this season. The Blackhawks are not a good defensive hockey team. They're not that good of a hockey team in general, and I think that this Vegas team is destined to be one of the top teams in the NHL this season. So Eichel is the straw that stirs that offensive drink. I like them over 3.5 shots here.
They got the Habs tonight.
Or sorry, yes, the Habs. You're right. Even still, doesn't matter. Habs not great either.
Well, it's funny. We saw the Jets take on the Habs on Saturday night, and Jake Allen was unbelievable. I mean, the Jets should have had 2 points. They was ugly shootout, but they just weren't able to capitalize on some late power plays. But the Habs have been giving up plenty of shots.
Lots of scoring opportunities against that Habs team.
Yeah. And the player shots. What's the Eichel number on that? Minus 133.
So that's moved since this morning.
On over 3.5. But again, we probably get a little bit of a boost on all of this. I mean, I'm definitely fine with that. I mean, I think we got some good reasoning behind it. I mean, there's so many games tonight to pick one out. I mean, I think we can probably put together we could do just a straight up results parlay as well if we wanted with all this action. Dusty, do you like the Eichel prop for the?
I mean, I think the matchup tonight would lead to Eichel, having a good chance to hit that for sure. I also don't hate Carolina in regulation at minus 111. They're going into Philly to play the Flyers. That's something that I don't mind.
You know what? Listen. Let's stick with Jack Eichel. The Flyers. That has been a graveyard for parlays going in. How many teams have
Yes.
gone in?
Is that
The Oilers, we bet against them. The Canucks, they got shut out
that's
there.
true, the Canucks did
They
too.
just keep on winning as a home dog. Like, listen, I think that we'll get some value on teams playing Philly at some point when this sort of evens out right now. But I tell you what, and listen, Carolina, after that road trip that they'd had, they seem to be kind of getting things back. So we will see. But yeah, let's stick with the Eichel prop.
Habs are averaging 36.5 shots against per game this season.
That's a good spot to hit those player props in, I think. Like shot props against the Habs. I do like that. Hus, were you on Minnesota over Philly too?
Yes. Yeah, that's the other thing.
Like, so Philly has 4 wins this year. 3 of them, Minnie, you were on. Vancouver, we were all on. Edmonton, I was on. So you're right. 75% of the games, they've kind of screwed us. So
fading Philly at home is on the suspended list for like a week. Let's just give it a week.
Yeah.
And then
I'm probably not going to take. I'm probably still going to play Carolina in regulation anyway on my own tonight. But if I come in a bad mood tomorrow, that's the reason why. All right, so Eichel shots, and then we got to get to the association.
Yes.
And I think it's a busy night in the NBA as well, isn't it?
Massive slate.
Yeah.
It's a massive slate.
Massive slate. All right, I'm going to throw one up.
Oh wow, yeah.
For discussion, being a hoop head Hus. Listen, the week started with that 2-0 parlay. It was the Raptors and OKC Thunder. The Thunder are at home tonight against the Pistons, who are they're 2-1, not a bad start. The Thunder started off with 2 nice road wins, that win against the Bills on opening night. They go into Cleveland and beat the Cavs 108-105. Home opener, they got it served to them by the Denver Nuggets, the best team in basketball, the defending champs. I give them a mulligan on that. They're 6.5-point favorites tonight against the Pistons at home. I kind of like our guy SGA to get this thing going in the right direction. I don't mind the 6.5-point spread. Let's just do a quick check on Detroit's. Detroit, they beat the Bulls at home. Bulls have had a terrible start, 118-102. They beat the Hornets on the road, and they lost to the Heat. They actually have been quite competitive. I mean, their one loss is by 1 point. I don't know. Maybe it's just that I'm particularly high on the Thunder and SGA coming out of the World Cup. But I always like to find them. And maybe the Pistons are better than what we sort of remember them, because they've been basically insignificant for the better part of a decade. But that was one that caught my eye right off the bat. What about you, Dusty? You're an association guy. What do you?
I spent a little bit of time watching the Lakers the Lakers game last night against Sacramento, and I don't know where I don't know if I want to get in on anything tonight with it. They played back to backs. I was just kind of searching to see if LeBron was going to play. Sometimes he doesn't play in the second half of back-to-backs. If LeBron was in tonight, I know they come out and they start talking about managing his minutes a little bit. But 2 games ago, he played in the entire fourth quarter, and they won that game. And then yesterday, he went to overtime, and he ended up playing I don't know what it was, 37, 38 minutes. So I don't know if that means that they're going to dial things back, but the Magic have had a pretty nice start to the year. So I'd probably stay away from that one. That was the game that I was kind of just diving into as you were sort of laying things out, Hus. Patty, is there anything that you like?
The line has moved significantly, so I'm kind of maybe starting to steer away. Raptors -8.5. I believe this morning it was at 7.5. It's gone up a full point. I think even yesterday when it opened, it was at 6.5 against the Trailblazers. They are not a good basketball team. They're going to be a team that's going to be obviously getting rid of Lillard. I think they're going to be tanking. I think they're going to be looking to get a top pick in this year's draft. The Raptors look pretty good with, even with their lone loss against the 76ers at home. I thought they look really good. No OG and Anunoby as he's still hurt, but all the other cast of characters have been real strong. Really like what we're seeing out of Scotty Barnes. It looks like he's ready to take that next step. And the Raptors have been great at home. for a long time, but even after the Kawhi era, they still have done a really good job covering the spread. Last year, 26, 17, and 1, including 22, 13, and 1 as a home favorite. So riding with the Raps, again, maybe we're a little bit reluctant with all that line movement at now 8.5. But originally this morning when I was doing my work, minus 7.5 was the number that I loved.
You know what, man? I don't mind it, like just that Lakers money line.
Oh, really?
Like,
okay.
Well, listen, they're 1-2. They've got Orlando coming in. I mean, that's not a game that the Lakers can lose. And like, listen, if they're up by 20, yeah, they can rest LeBron and give him a few less minutes on the court. But I mean, I think they have to win that game. And when you think about like, oh yeah, Orlando's 2-0. Well, they beat the Rockets and they beat the Trailblazers. So I mean, you're basically talking about the bottom of the food chain in the NBA. And now they go into LA. Chances are the guys maybe had a bit of a time last night. I don't know. I mean, unless like LeBron James is not playing in this game, and I mean, listen, sitting a guy for rest in game 4 of the season.
What are we doing?
Didn't it already happen with Jimmy Butler? I'm pretty sure Jimmy Butler already sat out. Like,
what a joke. He had some emo concert that he wanted to go to that night. Like My Chemical Romance was playing. He had to get
I would argue that even without LeBron, the rest of that Lakers lineup is better than the two teams that the Magic have beaten already this year.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. They still have Davis. They still have Reeves. They still have Russell. Like, this is still a really good team. We're not asking them to cover the spread. I don't think it's a nationally broadcasted game, which, again, I honestly think that would play a big deal if LeBron was playing or not. I'll have to check the schedule. But even if LeBron has limited minutes, or even if he's not even dressed and not playing at all, I still think that the Lakers are a good enough team to handle the Magic. We really don't know. You nailed it, Hus. Like, who have the Magic actually played so far this year? So
nobody good.
I'm okay with riding with the Lakers just to win.
So if we put this up, this is the way. So we've got the Lions minus 6.5, Adolis Garcia over 1.5 total bases, Eichel over 3.5 shots on goal, and the Lakers money line. That's a bizarre.
I know. That's why I love it. I texted you guys. I was like, we've got to do all 4 leagues today.
Yeah,
it comes up, it's at plus 962, which means we're probably going to be getting 10-1 or better.
Yep. Oh yeah, we're getting 10-1 for sure on that bad boy.
I'm in. I'm sure Jake has already sent it over and shipped it off, so I'm good with you. While we're at it though, fellas, before we do get rolling here, we do have some more Equinox exclusives. I'll just run through them quickly. And they're, with the exception of the last one, I'll say they're all pretty big numbers. So this is the things you'll find in a jungle parlay: the Panthers, the Lions, the Diamondbacks, and the Thunder, all to win at plus 835.
You guys will find a reason for anything, eh? I love that. That's great.
Real busy day at the Cool Bet offices today, as you can imagine.
Oh, and Panthers, by the way, Panthers in Boston to take on the Bruins. We all remember what the Panthers did to the Bruins in Boston last year.
Yes.
On a number of occasions, plus 139 on the underdog. What were the other ones? The Panthers. I like the D-backs.
Panthers, Lions, D-backs, and your OKC Thunder. I think that's got your name written all over it. Plus 835. The other one, the 4 for 4, Jaylen Brown 4 assists, Max Scherzer 4 strikeouts, Josh Jacobs 4 receptions, and Jack Eichel 4 shots. That's plus 950. Defense wins championships. Vegas, Detroit under 47.5. Texas, Arizona under 9.5 runs. Orlando, Lakers under 218.5 points. Vegas, Montreal under 6.5. That's plus 1150. And then the last, but certainly not least, it is not the biggest number. It's the smallest number on the board, but I love this bet. And shout out to our bookmakers for getting this one done. It's the Sports Equinox Explosion. All NFL, NHL, NBA, and MLB games to go over 2,600 points, runs, and goals at
Oh
plus
my
100.
God. Oh my God. I can't believe you guys even set that up. So that's just all the teams tonight. So you're just cheering for high scoring games tonight.
Everything. Buckets, home runs,
I got it.
goals.
How do you not ride with that one? Hey,
how do you not at plus 100? How do you not just get a little touch of that one?
And what was it? 26, I guess, because the NBA adds up in a hurry, right? So
yeah,
26.
No,
I like that.
Yeah, even money on over 2,600.
Hey, I know we've got the partner parlay for the Equinox, but what about a little in-gamer here for this Detroit game tonight? Because I know, Hus, you were saying you love Gibbs touchdown, minus 137. Mm-hmm. I love Laporta.
Love Gibbs touchdown.
I love Laporta. I know we've moved him down to 3.5 earlier, but I'd leave it at 4.5 here in this one. And then just go Detroit minus the spread. And it's just kind of like a little sort of Lions lock shop sort of partner parlay. Unless Patty, you want to add something else to that one?
I'd be good with that, but I have two other player props that I really like. Unfortunately, they're Raiders player props, but I think they're two pieces where they can fit in nicely.
Yeah, what do you got?
Jacoby Myers over 4.5. It's at minus 156, but he's really found a nice spot with Jimmy G. He's averaging 10 targets a game when Jimmy G plays, and he's gone over that total 5 of 6 games this season. He's hit that 3 straight games. The other one is Michael Mayer over 22.5 reception yards. I even like him to get 3 receptions at plus money. That might be an individual play, but he's a guy he's a rookie tight end. He's not the sexy name like the Laporta or even the Dalton Kincaid in Buffalo, but he's really starting to get a comfortable spot in this offense. And I think if he was on a better team, he would really be making noise. In the last 2 games alone with Jimmy G, he's been targeted 9 times for 7 catches for 114 yards. So I really like Mayer here. I'm obviously biased. He's a Notre Dame guy, but those two, if we wanted out another player prop, I'd be good with that. With that being said, I'm my favorite bet of the night is Lions minus 7. So I'd be fine with minus 6.5 if we didn't want to add a Raiders prop here.
Hus, what do you think, man? Your call. Do you want to add any Raiders into this, or just want to stick with our Lions guys?
So, well, I don't mind the Mayer prop as well. If we wanted, I mean, listen, we do a Gibbs touchdown and then add in, the tight end props. We could add 4 on this one.
Gibbs in the touch. Yeah, no, that's not a bad idea.
What, you like the Mayer over 2.5 receptions, Pat?
I actually prefer his yardage at 22.5, but I also am good with his reception as well. I think it's over 2.5 at plus 105.
Yeah, plus 105, plus 105 there. And the receiving yards number is 22.5 for minus 110. Yeah, well, I mean, as I say, do we want to go 22.5, Dusty?
Yeah, we can go Laporta catches and Mayer yards. So let's do that. Let's throw that in there.
Or okay, we're going to do the catches over the yards.
No, for Laporta, we're on the catches 4.5.
Yeah,
and then on the yards on the other way. So let's do
perfect.
Let's do that one. So you can find that one as well. Hus, what's coming up on Winnipeg Sports Talk today, buddy?
Well, Blake Wheeler's return tonight, so there'll be lots to talk about this Jets Ranger game coming up this evening. We'll hear from the former captain of the Winnipeg Jets. Dave Poulin's going to come on to kind of take us around the National Hockey League and moving on to the CFL playoffs. Jeff Hamilton will join us to talk about Calgary and BC, the 2 semifinals, and maybe a little bit more on the Bombers. Just still finding ways to win, even with the backups in. That's
because Drew Brown, man, 9 touchdowns, no interceptions, CFL record.
Yeah, he listen. He knew what he was doing on Friday night. I mean, it was planned to let everybody know that if they have quarterback issues, he's going to be a guy that would love a starting job,
too, isn't he? I think he's a free agent.
So yeah. So we'll see what that means. I mean, probably tough to leave Winnipeg with the way things are, and he has gotten into some games this year, but those careers are short. So, yeah, we'll get into all of that and a bunch of other game day stuff, and maybe talk about the robbery of Francis Ngannou against Tyson Fury as well.
Pat, any thoughts on that?
That was probably...
Well, me and Patty can get into that here. I don't know if... How's you got to get going, eh?
Yeah, okay. Well, just, I mean... an absolute farce, and anyone that had a plus 800, a plus 110,000, a plus 1,000, plus 1,200 bet on Ngannou probably will agree to never bet boxing again, but that was an amazing, amazing performance for a guy getting in, and they better do it again. I'll tell you that much. Big whiff on Dana White to let that guy go, thinking that, we never hear from him again. Yeah, definitely not. Fellas, enjoy the equinox tonight, and we'll see you guys tomorrow in the lock.
Talk to you later, buddy. There you go. That's Hus. Winnipeg Sports Talk coming up right away. Just quickly, I'm going to get to a Fantasy Football 5 here right away, and we already kind of laid everything up. But, Patty, I mean, I think at one point boxing would have significantly moved the needle from a betting perspective. Something like what we saw over the weekend hurt that, or did you guys do okay on that fight? Or
You know what? I think a lot of these type of boxing matches, I know this is actually a legitimate.
Yeah, it wasn't a full blown
but
exhibition like some of the others. This was a real fight. Yeah.
Yeah, but this, I mean, the big heavyweights fights always do well. But even like the Jake Paul fights against former MMAers, those ones seem to do well, and it's kind of sad to see the state of boxing. But with that being said, I think Ngannou proving that not only he probably should have won that fight, but he could be a legitimate top 10 heavyweight in the world. I think that's a good thing for boxing.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's, you think like, well, that's got to be embarrassing. A guy that's never actually boxed before hops in and competes with one of the greatest. Yeah, that's a little bit telling. But I think if he can stick in boxing and can make a name, well, he's already got a name for himself, but continue to build up his boxing resume, I think that's massive. I think boxing at its best, it's such an awesome sport to watch. It's such a great, it's not even a sport. It's like a whole spectacle.
Yeah.
And to get it back to where it could be, where, like you said, it's a top bet event. I think that's massive. And you see, look what the UFC has been able to do over the last, 5-10 years. It is completely dominated when it comes to a betting perspective, not just because there's more bigger fights, but just they marketed it better. And I think this is an eye-opening push now for boxing. But at the same time, I think MMA and UFC is Dana White's got to be thinking, man, like, oof, like I got to start paying these guys better, or got to figure something out, because Ngannou now, look, he probably made more money in that fight than he did over his entire UFC career. And I think there's going to be other guys that recognize that and say, why am I going to fight in the octagon when I can, maybe only box once or twice a year,
hold your own and make some money. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, no, that's
so
good.
It's interesting. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I'd love to see the rematch. No doubt about it. I know the sports book would like to see it, but I will say this, the odds will definitely be a lot closer. We got lucky there. Oh my God, we would have been touched up pretty good on that one.
That would not have been good. All right, buddy. Well, you enjoy the 4 sports we got going on tonight, and we'll catch up to you later in the week.
Will do. Thanks for having me on, as always.
There you go. That's the Lock Shop. All right, Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by Century Casino on Fort Road, Sports Bar and Lounge. Pop in there. Lieutenant Eric will be there for a Monday Night Football tonight between the Raiders and the Detroit Lions. And he'll have a few of the regular AM Nasty crew finding their way to Century Casino as well. If you have not been there yet, it's a really good time. So go by, see Eric, a little bit intimate, actually, hang out with Rick for a bit, and he'll probably buy you a bevy. And you can watch the Detroit Lions absolutely destroy the Raiders tonight. If you have any fantasy football questions, you lose a quarterback this week. I lost a quarterback this week. We'll get into that a little bit coming up. Don't want to go on a full-blown rant, because obviously my fantasy team doesn't mean you-know-what to Kirk Cousins and his Achilles. It was confirmed today he is out for the season. As for the Monday Nighter tonight, your starts and sits. I mean, there's a bunch in here. Now, for the most part, this is already locked in. It's tough to do on a Monday, but maybe you're playing some DFS. Jared Goff must start. Gibbs must start. You're starting Jacobs. You're starting Adams. You're starting Jacoby Myers. You're starting Laporta. Obviously, if Amon-Ra St. Brown is playing, you're starting him as well. I mean, the other ones that I would look at, probably not going to I'm probably not going to touch anybody else, really, in this game. Craig Reynolds is interesting if you're in a deeper league, considering the way that they use Gibbs when Montgomery is in. They mix in a little bit more Reynolds than you would like to see as well. Jameson Williams, I love him long-term. Not too sure. I mean, if Depending on how things play out with Amon St. Brown, I mean, maybe you have some time there. I do think Sam Laporte is probably my favorite play of the night as far as exceeding expectations go. That's something that you could look at for tonight's game. If you do have any questions, 780-218-9999 or in the nasty chat as well. Old Gil says, selling Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua for some other number ones with the Stafford news. Not a bad idea. I mean, that's one of those ones where you're not. I wouldn't automatically give them away just because of the Stafford news. But I would certainly see what's out there. Problem is that who's going to be all horny to pick them up right now with the Stafford news as well. That's one of those tough spots to be in. And then this is an all-time bad fantasy beat. What happened to me over the weekend? Like, I was looking for a quarterback in a Superflex league ever since Aaron Rodgers went down. And I only had one quarterback, and it's Jalen Hurts. He does extremely well. 7-0, one of the best fantasy teams I think I've ever built. And then I put out offers for everybody. I'm talking, I put out offers for Goff. I put out offers for Daniel Bloody Jones. I put out offers for Baker Mayfield. I put out offers for Zach Wilson. Like, I'd been trying to get a quarterback in this league for probably conservatively 4 weeks. And I'd been offering up I tried to get Dak. I tried really hard to get Dak. That didn't happen. I'm talking like I offered like 6 picks and something else for Dak. I didn't get Dak. So then on Saturday, I get an offer. First rounder, and it's a dynasty league, but first rounder in 2025, second rounder in 2025 for Kirk Cousins. And I'm like, okay, I've got this team that hasn't lost yet this year. Who knows when Rodgers is going to be back? It'd really be nice to throw another quarterback into that super flex spot. Kirk Cousins is having a great year. Pull the trigger on it. And then yesterday, not only like when you see an Achilles sort of pop like that, it makes you sick to your stomach. I was double sick to my stomach because this is a championship team that I've sacrificed the bloody future for. And now I'm in the market for some sort of horrible quarterback to fill my 2 QB spot the rest of the way. That was a tough one. Philip in on the nasty chat. This is not related. I'll save that one for the old stream. Let me save that one for the old stream. I want to get to it. That'll probably disappear because we're going to be moving over to the oil stream one. But yeah, that's good, Philip. Really good message. I'm going to save that one. We will get to that. Fantasy Football 5 brought to you by Century Casino. We will get into the waiver wire on Tuesday on the Fantasy Football 5. Go see Eric tonight, Monday Night Football at the Sports Bar and Lounge in the Century Casino on Fort Road. Oil stream coming up. Don't go anywhere. Turn on that autoplay. Going to take you right over. If you're listening on TuneIn or you're listening at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, stick around. Oil stream's going to be coming up in just a few minutes. And we got lots to get to. Are the Edmonton Oilers back on track, or do the Calgary Flames just suck? That's coming up here in the noon hour at EdmontonSportsTalk.com.